and thanks for joining us for the Prepped and Polished radio show. I'm your host, Alexis Avila, licensed guidance counselor, private tutor, and founder of Prepped and Polished LLC, tutoring and test preparation in beautiful South Natick, Massachusetts. The Prepped and Polished radio show is your educational insider. Our show is brought to you by Prepped and Polished LLC, where I'm the principal educator. To learn more about our firm, you can visit preppedandpolished.com. And thank you to everyone who's listening to the program. We appreciate you taking interest in the information we bring to families and educators all around the globe. For future shows, updates, and ongoing relevant education news, please join our Facebook community by searching for Prepped and Polished and clicking like, or you can follow us on Twitter, which is @PreppedPolished. Joining our show today is Dennis Charles. Dennis is founder of Boston-based firm Charles Career Mentoring, where he builds careers with passion. Dennis is originally from the home of this year's Olympics, East London. Prior to this role, Dennis was a high school teacher, a professional soccer player. He has a master's in educational psychology and is a proud graduate of, and he'll help me pronounce this later, Loughborough University in the UK. We're delighted to have Dennis on our show. He's going to share with us about what's going on today in the job market, give us some tips about how you can land your dream job, especially for young professionals. Before we start, I just want to make sure our listeners have our contact information. Our email address is radio@preppedandpolished.com. If you'd like to submit a question at any time, you can use that email address. Often our listeners will have questions as they're listening or afterwards, so we always appreciate hearing from our listeners. So you can email us anytime at radio@preppedandpolished.com. Okay, Dennis, are you on the line there?
I'm here with you, Alexis. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us. How was your weekend?
My weekend was fantastic. I was actually down in New Jersey, where I have a lot of family. And
great.
And thanks so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Well, I had the pleasure to meet you quite a few times at networking and conferences, and I'm really impressed with your how you relate to young people. And I just wanted to see if you could tell us, if you could start off by telling us a little bit about Charles Career Mentoring and how you came up with your company.
Absolutely, yeah. I've been really doing mentoring and coaching and training for my entire life through various guises. I was a former high school teacher. As you mentioned, I used to be a professional soccer coach and worked in summer camps for a number of years as well. And the whole time it was really working with young people, and young people being anywhere from probably 5 years old up to 25 years old. And one of the things I really always loved doing was helping them figure out what they wanted to be doing with their lives, whether it was the younger end of that spectrum, just, what were they interested in, what was fun for them, up until the older ones, what did they want to be doing in college, whether they wanted to be going in college or maybe taking some time out before they went to college. And once they graduated from college, helping them with their career direction, helping them, really get out there, get a job that for them was fulfilling, in which they could be successful, in which they could be satisfied, they could make a contribution to the world. And so about 5 or 6 years ago, I said, you know what, I'm going to really make a go of this. And I began to build a private practice, and I've really enjoyed it over the last 5 or 6 years, just helping out young people, helping them get into the world and really making a difference through the work that they do.
Well, that's amazing. You're making a difference for sure. What have you seen in the last 5 years since you started your practice with the job trends, especially today?
Yeah, well, it's been a really interesting time. As you know, the economy's kind of been here, there, and everywhere. When I first started off, it was a case of you got the job, you got the career, you got the credential, and then you could go out and market and sell yourself, and companies would almost be fighting over themselves to hire you. Then, of course, we went into the recession, 2007, 2008, and things changed dramatically. Companies were slashing budgets. New hires, even interns, just weren't getting paid what they were getting. New hires were getting very significantly less income than they were maybe 5-10 years ago from now. And what I really realized was those that were being successful were those that were able to stand out a little bit and really able to demonstrate that if a company was to take a risk and hire them, that they could deliver value. I think 10 years ago, companies would hire 100 recruits and hope that 40 would work out. Now they're looking at really targeting the 40 recruits and hoping that they, knowing that those 40 that they're going to hire, they're going to work with and stick with. So the hiring process for people coming out of high school, coming out of college, has changed dramatically. And this idea about what's the value that I can deliver is something that is absolutely huge for people.
Oh, definitely. And I totally hear you when you said that at the beginning, when you started 5-6 years ago, there were companies fighting for clients, and now, obviously the tables have turned a little bit, and we have clients trying to fight other clients for jobs, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So now this is where I'm sure that you shine because you are a career expert, but, and without giving all your secrets away, because, I definitely encourage listeners to sign up for Dennis's program. But what tips, if you have any, do you have for standing out in this job market?
The one thing that I hammer away over and over again with the clients I work with, both the private clients and those that come to my trainings, is really develop an entrepreneurial mindset. Now, what does that mean? Well, even if you're going to go work and get hired for another company, you really need to consider what is the value that you're going to be delivering. Why should that company, first of all, hire you, and then consider giving you responsibility, and then consider promoting you. And I believe that comes from having an entrepreneurial mindset. So going in and not just saying, all right, this is my job description, and I'm going to do it, but just taking that as the basis, going into an organization, going into a company and saying, okay, this is my job description, and what else can I offer? Where do my skills lay? What's the value added that I offer? Because time and time again, Alexis, I see those that have gone in, that have interned in a company, that have got great references, are the ones that are going on and getting hired, maybe above those that have maybe got better grades throughout high school and college. Those that have really gone in and made a difference within a company and organization, been able to demonstrate that, been able to communicate that to a potential employee, that are the ones getting hired.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So just kind of more having just a little bit more of the networking mindset as well.
Absolutely. I really get out there and build your network. And the network's a funny thing. Of course, again, the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen social media explode, where those that are on Twitter and Facebook, you may have like 1,500 friends on Facebook. But that's, to me, Alexis, is not really networking. I would rather see somebody with 8 really solid contacts than 1,500 random spread out contacts who, most of whom they've never met in their lives. But if you had 5 to 8 really solid, dependable contacts that you could be networking with in your chosen field, and you really develop those relationships and put depth into those relationships and demonstrated that you are a person of substance with those people, then that's going to really help you with your leverage. There's a statistic out there that 83% of all jobs that are filled are not actually advertised. So they're not getting out into, we're talking old school, but they're not getting out into the newspapers. They're not getting out onto Monster, but they're actually either hired within, or they're positions that become available and people know through various networks. I'm looking for a position as a graphic designer. Oh, I know a really great graphic designer. You should call John. So, if we're looking at only 17% of jobs and careers coming from advertisements, you want to really be focusing on that 83%. And as you say, networking and building that kind of, as I call it, bridging capital is really something that's going to be essential and crucial going forwards.
Wow, that is cool. Sign me up. So now this might be sort of a redundant question, but like when I go outside and you see people who are just struggling to find a job. Like it just kind of. So what are maybe like a couple tips that come to your mind if you see somebody come into your office who's just really struggling? Maybe she's shy, who knows? But just is kind of like firing blanks. What would you say?
Well, the typical thing I see, and this is not everybody, but this is very common, is that they're casting their net far too widely. They're saying, you know what, I just want a job. Well, that's not particularly appealing to a potential employee. So what I do is I get them to focus down and to narrow down. I'll sit down and through a process of investigation, I'll find out where a potential client's skills are. I'll find out where a potential client's interests are, and really work out a specific strategic plan from there. Because, as you say, a lot of people are floundering around and fumbling around. But it's very difficult to hire someone. You just imagine that you're working for an accountancy company, and somebody comes in and says, I just want any job. Well, you're probably not going to get hired. But if you're hiring in an accountancy company and somebody comes in with the qualifications, with the desire, and says, one of the things I really love about accountancy is just the fact at the end of the day when I really get those numbers right and I can really deliver great service to a client. In fact, I had an internship 6 months ago at a particular company, and I just really loved the client interface, the one-to-one. That was the thing that really got me going. Well, that's the person that's going to get hired. The person that shows up saying, I have maybe I want a career in accountancy. Maybe I just want to get hired. Please give me a job. It kind of almost smacks like desperation. So, one of the things I'll do, Alexis, is really just get them laser focused in an area and work from there, come up with a plan from there. So if their interest is in computers, that's such a broad field that, again, it's far too general. Like, what is your specific interest in computers? What are the skills that you have? What are the skills that you can learn? And, what's the value that getting back to that entrepreneurial mindset, what's the value that you're going to be able to go in and demonstrate that you can deliver to a potential employee?
Well, that's amazing. I like the fact that, just focusing, really with laser-like vision and just kind of just pursuing it with everything you got.
Yeah. It's just, it's one of those things. I'm a big sports fan, and I find those that get successful in sports are the ones that specialize. We have very specialized sports over in the U.S. You have a guy that's maybe 300 pounds. He doesn't say, I'm going to try out for the gymnastics team. I'm going to try out for the triathlon team. I'm going to try out for the sprinting team. He says, 300 pounds, I can probably be a really good linebacker on the football team. Let me put my attention and focus my attention for 3 or 4 or 5 years on being a linebacker. And he's had much more success. My guess is the 300-pound guy is not going to be very, very good at rhythmic gymnastics. So why consider putting your attention there? Absolutely.
I guess my last question is just if you could just share with us a success story that you've recently had.
Yeah, last week I get a text message from one of my clients because one of the ways I work is I kind of like to work in real time. So I'll use a lot of Skype. I'll use a lot of email. I'll use text. I'll use phone calls, and of course I'll use face-to-face. And this guy's a remote client. He's out in the Midwest. Really nice guy. But just been struggling to find a career that for him is fulfilling. He's able to make the financial end work, but he's just kind of running into a series of dead-end jobs that really, he found it difficult to wake up in the morning and to get himself motivated.
And how old was this guy? Is this a young?
I think he's late 20s.
Late 20s, okay.
Yeah, and in many respects, it's very similar to a recent grad in that he hadn't really found that thing that made him come alive. So we really focused on what he wanted to be doing, and what he really wanted to be doing was a lot of customer service, working with customers in the entertainment industry. So for the last 6 weeks, just had him getting out and networking and building up his skills, interfacing face-to-face, one-to-one. And I get a text message, I think it was last Monday, he says, you got to call me now. I think I was with another client. So I call him back half an hour later, and I say, oh, yeah, what's going on? He said, I got the job. And he was just so pumped and so excited. And it's an entry-level job. And so, in his late 20s, one of the things he said is it's not his perfect career, but it's a place where he can begin to leapfrog onto his perfect career. So he knows so for him now, the thing is to do, okay, now he's got this position. Now how can he demonstrate that when a more senior position within this organization becomes available, that he should be the one to be hired? So that's the work we're going to be focusing on now.
Oh, wow. So not only is it a success story, but it hasn't stopped,
Yeah, absolutely. And then really it never does. I think, one one of the things, Alexis, that I see with skilled people, even folks like Richard Branson from my country, who most people know runs the Virgin organization. He has coaches, he has mentors, he has trusted advisors. He doesn't believe that he can do this alone. He works with others to get input. And ultimately, while he takes the responsibility and makes the decisions himself, he doesn't do so until he gets a significant amount of input. One of the stories when he started Virgin Atlantic Airlines, he went to a guy that had been running airlines for the last 15 years, a guy called Freddie Laker in the UK, and said, "Can you help me?" And this guy, Freddie Laker, kind of really mentored him through the first 3 years of building up an airline. And Alexis, one of the things that I'll say about America is, we love to do things on our, we're autonomous, we're independent, we love to do things on our own and for ourselves. And while there's tremendous value in that, I think that reaching out and getting help, particularly with regard to careers, particularly with regard to academic help, which I know you do at Prepped and Polished so well, just that reaching out and getting help at the right time, it really can make all the difference.
Well said. This is great. Thank you so much. I mean, I think it's really evident that the way that you approach every relationship is just with you're methodical, you're strategic, and you just infuse passion into your students and your clients and really make a difference. And that's I know you deliver. So thank you so much.
Hey, it's been my absolute pleasure talking with you, Alexis. Thanks so much for inviting me on, and thanks so much for having the conversation. I think it's really important work that we both do, and I really appreciate you taking the time to reach out. Thank you.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. Well, thank you. This wraps up our show today with Dennis Charles, founder of Charles Career Mentoring. Please visit charlescareer.com to learn more about Dennis's company. And hey, while you're there, definitely sign up for his informative newsletter. I get it. It's excellent. Thank you again for joining us, Dennis, and thank you for joining us on the Prepped and Polished radio show. We'll talk to you soon.